Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today we're reading from Canto 10, Chapter 50, texts 9 through 11. Etad-artho vatāro yam bhū-bhāra-haraṇāya me saṁrakṣaṇāya sādhūnāṁ kṛto nyeṣāṁ vadhāya ca etat for this arthaḥ purpose, avatāraḥ descent, ayam this, bhū of the earth, bhū-bhāra the burden, haraṇāya for removing, by me, saṁrakṣaṇāya for the complete protection, sādhūnāṁ of the saintly, kṛtaḥ done, anyeṣāṁ of others, the nonsaintly, vadhāya for killing, ca and. Translation. This is the purpose of my present incarnation, to relieve the earth of its burden, protect the pious, and kill the impious. Text 10. Anyo dharma-rakṣāyai dehaḥ saṁbhriyate mayā virāmāyāpy adharmasya kale prabhavata kvajit anyo another api as well dharma of religion rakṣāyai for the protection dehaḥ body saṁbhriyate is assumed mayā by me, virāmāyā for the stopping, api also, adharmasya of religion, kale in the course of time, prabhavataḥ becoming prominent, kvachit whenever. Translation. I also assume other bodies to protect religion and to end irreligion whenever it flourishes in the course of time. So text 11 we'll recite together. Evam jayati Govinda Akashat Surya Varchaso Rathav upastito sadya Sasuto saparichado.
Evam dhayati Govinda Akshat Surya Varchaso Rathav upastito sadya Sasuto saparichado.
Mataji's? Evam, in this manner, dhyayati, while he was meditating, Govinde, Lord Krishna, akashat, from the sky, surya, like the sun, varchaso, having effulgence, ratho, two chariots, upastito, appeared, sadhya, suddenly, sa, with, suto, drivers, sa, with, parichado, equipment. Translation. Sukadeva Goswami continued, as Lord Govinda was thinking in this way, two chariots as effulgent as the sun suddenly descended from the sky. They were complete with drivers and equipment. We can repeat. Sukadeva Goswami continued. As Lord Govinda was thinking in this way, two chariots as effulgent as the sun suddenly descended from the sky. They were complete with drivers and equipment. Purport. Srila Jiva Goswami and Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti agree that the chariots came down from the Lord's own abode, Vaikuntha Loka, the kingdom of God. The faithful devotees of the Lord derive tremendous pleasure by observing the Lord's incomparable technology. Om Ajnana Timurandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshuranmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Arigor Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Here we're in the midst of a very powerful pastime when Krishna is about to meet with Jarasandha on the battlefield. Now, we're not the only ones who are listening to this, because the Brajabasis, with great fear and anxiety, they're trying to hear what's going on in Mathura with their beloved Krishna and Balaram. And therefore Nanda Maharaj, he sent two poets as messengers to find out what Krishna and Balaram are doing when they're in Mathura. So the messengers, they went the first time, and that was the last chapter, chapter 49, when Krishna had sent Akrura, and they heard how Krishna was just about to go to Hastinapur to console the Pandavas and Kunti Devi because they were suffering so much. But then all of a sudden, coming from Magadha, came Jarasandha. Now, Nanda Maharaj and all the Brijbasis, they're in great anxiety, just like we're sitting, what's going to happen, though we might have read before in the Krishna book about the battle between Jarasandha and Krishna and Balaram. Now, word for word, we're hearing about what's actually going on. In fact, Sukadeva Goswami is even giving us insight into what Krishna is thinking. Now, because Krishna is playing the part of a human, a manusha, we think. We think, and then we feel, and then we will something. So just as Krishna, when he was a young boy, when he saw his friends entering into the mouth of Aghasura, he was thinking, oh, what's going to happen to my friends? How shall I save them? He was playing the part of a little boy who loved his friends. Now he's playing the part, he's a little older now, and he's seeing, well, here comes Jarasandha. I have my friends to console in Hastinapur, my family members. I have all of my beloveds in Braja. I want to go back to Braja, but I have an immediate emergency in front of me because Jarasandha has come with 23 Akshohinis of very wicked and evil army members, and I have to take care of them immediately because Jarasandha's army was so big that it was overflowing. Of course, Mathura was encaged within a fort, so they were safe within the fort. But the residents of Braja that surrounded, we know how Braja surrounds Mathura, they had no fort to hide in. And imagine millions and millions of soldiers and elephants and horses coming to Mathura. Of course, it would extend into Braja. So even the Brajabasis, they were fleeing out of fear of Jarasandha. And they were wondering what was happening. And the set of messengers that were sent by Nanda Maharaj, they were caught within the fort. They couldn't come to tell Nanda Maharaj what was going on. So they were in double anxiety, not only for their own lives, but what was going to happen to Krishna and Balaram, because Jarasandha was specifically coming to kill them. Now, when Kamsa had been killed, we know that he had two wives who were the daughters of Jarasandha. At that time, Jarasandha didn't have any son. So he was worried because Brihadratha, his father, he was a very powerful Vedic king. He also didn't have a son, and then Chandrakoshika gave him a mango. That mango was split in two to the two wives. Jarasandha was born. The Rakṣashi Jara joined the two forms, and that powerful demoniac prince, crown prince, Jarasandha, the son of Brihadratha, he then took charge of Magadha. And he was so powerful. Why was he so powerful? We look back because this is dimensional. We know from the Bhagavad Gita that all of us have had many, many births in the past, and we'll have many in the future as well. So the whole creation, Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita, the 16th chapter, that there are two types of living entities in this world. The asuras and the suras. The devas, the demigods, and the demons. Krishna assured Arjuna that you are of divine qualities, so do not worry. But then he goes on to explain the qualities of the demons. Now these demons and the demigods have been existing since the beginning of the creation, Brahma's creation. When Brahma gave birth to the progenitors, Marichi, he had a son named Kashyapa, and another of the progenitors, Daksha, he had many daughters. 13 of the daughters were given to Kashyapa as wives. And amongst them was one very chaste and beautiful young wife named Danu. So Danu, she gave birth to the Danavas. The Danavas were monstrous, very powerful, knowers of illusion. For instance, we've heard about Mayā Danava, who created the Sabha in Indraprastha. He also created the Tripura airplane. So the Danavas are very powerful. And along with Danu's descendants, the Danavas, there was Diti. And whole chapters of Diti's descendants have been described in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha, and then Prahlad, and then Virochana and Bali Maharaj, the demons, the Daityas. So since the beginning of the creation, the demigods and the demons have been fighting. What are they fighting for? They're fighting for sense gratification. That's all it comes down to. The demigods are enjoying because of their pious activities in the heavenly planets, and the demons, because they disrespect the Supreme Lord, they try to overcome the demigods, take their possessions, their opulences, and enjoy. So this fight has been going on, and this is a continued fight. Now, in this particular appearance of Sri Krishna in his original form, he's in Mathura. He's called Dwarkadish or Mathuresh, and he is contemplating that I have come for this purpose. These great demons have all assembled here. Jarasandha, in his previous birth, he was one of the Danavas. His name was Viprachiti, and you will find him all throughout the Srimad Bhagavatam, Viprachiti, because he was the head of the Danavas, the most powerful. And whenever there was a war between the Devas and the demons, he was at the front of it. So Viprachiti, he, along with many of the other Danavas and Daityas, had taken birth within the area of Jambudvip in order to continue this warring. And their hope was, they had performed, because in the last battle they had been pushed down to the netherworld. Below the earth are subterranean planets. In these subterranean planets, there's no sunlight. The brilliance is created by the jewels. For instance, it's not so prevalent in India, but if in the Western countries, you can go to some cities, for instance in Montreal. Anyone has ever been to Montreal? Montreal is a very cold city, too cold to even breathe the air in the wintertime. Here we can breathe at least. So they've built huge complexes underground, and the people go underground and they have shopping malls and parks and everything, very nicely lit up, because it's just too cold to live on the surface. And in New York City, three manjils. You can go down 3 different levels, and you'll find people wandering around, shopping, going on subways, and so many things going on underground. So these subterranean planets, the Danavas and the Daityas had been pushed down there by the demigods in their last fight. They lost. And they did a great sacrifice to Lord Shiva. And the benediction of that sacrifice was that Duryodhana was born. And they had all their hope in Duryodhana that he would overcome all of the saintly persons on planet Earth, and then the saintly persons, the devotees, would stop offering to the demigods, and they would be able to overcome the demigods. So there was a very complex, from previous births, arrangement by the Danavas, by the demons, to take birth in different families and clans and overcome the devotees so they could enjoy more sense gratification. Why did Duryodhana want the kingdom of Yudhishthira? So that he could enjoy. So the whole reason we come to this material world is because we want enjoyment separate from the Supreme Lord. And even though we want to enjoy, there's competition. And that competition is polarized between those who follow the Vedic injunctions and those who do not follow, who reject the authority of the Supreme Lord. Now one may ask, Panchagoda, he had a question. He said, how is it if Jarasandha performed austerities and sacrifice and gave so much charity, why was he a demon? So Krishna explains that in the 17th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, the divisions of faith. He says there's yajna, there's dana, and there's tapa. And these 3 different activities should never be given up. But they're performed according to the modes of nature in which a person is existing. So there's also yajna in the mode of ignorance. performing great sacrifices, but not for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord, for the pleasure of one's own self, ignoring the injunctions of the Vedas. One can give so much charity, but not charity in reference to how not giving prasadam, not giving to the proper person at the proper time. It's all in the mode of ignorance. And one can also perform severe austerities, just like Hiranyakashipu did, but not for the pleasure of the Lord. Actually, he performed those austerities to kill the Lord. So these activities, yajna, tapa, and dana, are also performed by the demons, but not for the pleasure of the Lord. So therefore, Jarasandha, when Asti and Prapti, when they saw that their husband was killed in Mathura, they didn't see it in the way we saw it, because they had demoniac mentality. That we rejoiced, and for them their life was finished. And they no longer wanted to stay in the home of their husband. Their husband was dead, and they saw all of their family members surrounding them as their enemies who had killed their husband. So they left the palace of Mathura, and in ragged clothes they started to walk to Magadha. And all of the people, they were laughing at them. They walked and walked, finally got to their father's house, Jarasandha's house. And just as when Suparnaka, when she returned to Ravana, she was in such a state, and the way she described what Ram and Lakshman had done to her, it was from her point of view, of course. She accepted no responsibility for what she had done wrong. So in the similar way, when Asti and Prapti reached the home of Jarasandha, and he saw them in that ragged, miserable condition of mourning, "What has happened to my daughters?" They explained that our glorious husband, he had arranged a sacrifice, he invited everyone, he was enjoying in the arena, and along come these horrible young boys from the village. First they kill a washerman, then they break the bow, then they kill your elephant that you had given to Kamsa in dowry, Kuvalayapida. Then they come into the arena, they kill all of the wrestlers. And Kamsa, he's just interested in watching the sacrifice. He was so absorbed in seeing all the fighting going on. And then what does this rascal Krishna do? He jumps up onto the place where Kamsa's sitting, and for no reason whatsoever, he grabs him by the hair and he kills him. He doesn't stop there. He drags Kamsa all around the arena for no reason whatsoever. No one could understand why this horrible young boy had done this. So they're wailing to their husband, to their father, and their father is just becoming more and more furious. That who is this Krishna and Balaram? What have they done? So, hearing their side of the story, he gets so angry that he takes his mace, and he, from Magadha, that's southern Bihar, and he throws it to Krishna. There's a place near Mathura, it's called Gadavasana. 99 yojanas, he throws that mace, it lands right at Krishna's feet. That was his declaration of war. And then, because Jarasandha was very powerful, that was how he got Kamsa as his son-in-law. He had come to defeat Mathura, and Kamsa protected Mathura when he was the crown prince. And Jarasandha was so impressed by his fighting abilities, and he had no son then, so he decided, I'll give my daughters to this powerful Kamsa, and we will make a coup, and we will overtake Ugrasen, we'll make Kamsa the king, and his sons will take my kingdom as well. But Asti and Prapti didn't have any grown sons. So all of his plans were ruined. Kamsa was dead, Asti and Prapti were widowed. Now, in great rage, he wanted to avenge the death of his son-in-law. So because being a demon, it was predicted by Chandrakoshika after his birth, he would be a great devotee of Lord Shiva. Now, people also worship Lord Shiva for different reasons. We worship Lord Shiva. There are his different forms are the Kshetrapali here, and we worship him as the greatest devotee of the Supreme Lord, Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu. So we're worshiping him as a devotee. There's one form that's worshipped in Bihar called Mahabhairava or Kala Bhairava. This was the form when Lord Shiva became very angry at Brahma, and he chopped off one of his heads, and he carries Lord Brahma's head around. The blood is dripping, and the dogs are drinking the blood of Brahma's head. Very ghastly. So the demons, they worship this Kala Bhairava in Bihar. And how do they worship him? Well, what Jarasandha did was, because he was also trying to become the emperor of the whole world, not only Yudhisthira, not only Duryodhana, but also Jarasandha, he would subjugate the different kings, and either the kings would flee, such as Surasen and the other saintly kings. They went to different parts of India to get away from Jarasandha and Kamsa, or he would capture them. And he was locking these kings up, and he was going to do a huge sacrifice to Kala Bhairava of these kings. And he was just waiting till he had the proper number of kings. Some say 100, some say 10,000. It depends which Shastra you're reading. And he had locked them up in a cave. So the kings, although kings by nature, they like sense enjoyment, but now that they were locked up, they remembered their only protector is Krishna. They had sent their messenger to Krishna, asking him to please deliver them. So Jarasandha, he was collecting these kings. He was going to sacrifice them. And now he was coming to Mathura. And all of the kings that he had subjugated, he made alliance with them now to get their armies. And these 23, you can read the different names of the different kings who went with him. They were all wicked, demoniac kings. And therefore, when Krishna, at this time, when he saw that Jarasandha was surrounding the city, and he saw that now it's the time for a fight, he welcomed the situation. Because in his thoughts, he was remembering that, yes, this is the reason I came here. 3 reasons. I came to establish religion, I came to protect the devotees, and I came to kill the demons. So I'm going to be able to do all these 3 things at one time, and I didn't have to go anywhere. They're coming to me. I can kill them all at once. And he also decided, I will kill them all because his weapons came, his chariot came. I'll kill them all, but I won't kill Jarasandha. Why didn't he want to kill Jarasandha? It's described by Srila Jiva Goswami. He says that just like a trained crow, a crow will squawk, and when the crow squawks, other crows will come to him. So Jarasandha, he came one time with 23 Akshohinis, and Krishna killed everything. The horses, the elephants, the infantry, everyone. And when they saw Balaram, because when, as described here in this 3rd verse, the two chariots came from Vaikuntha, and along with them came Daruka, the driver, and also Balaram's driver. They had their flags on top. On Krishna's chariot was the Garuda sign, Garuda Dvaja. On Balaram's chariot was the Taladvaja. Taladvaja, that means like the tall tree here in Talavan. It's a sign of purity, of existence. So that was Balaram's sign. Now his weapons, he had his Sudarshan Chakra, he had his club. And Balaram, he had a plow and a mace. So when Jarasandha's army saw that Balaram, that his weapon was a plow, they started to laugh. He's just a village boy. He's going to fight with a plow. But after Krishna had killed them all with his different weapons, Balaram used that plow to drag all their bodies that created rivers and rivers of blood. And the bodies of the elephants and the horses and the men, they looked like islands and fish and waves. So that plow was used for a very good purpose, because this is Balaram's eternal weapon. So now Krishna's thinking, this is a wonderful opportunity for me. It won't take me long. I'll just kill these 23 Akshohinis, and I'll humiliate Jarasandha. Now, a very similar thing happened with Duryodhana. Duryodhana, he was pressed on by his friends, Karna, Shakuni, etc. Shakuni, he understood that it wasn't a good idea, but Karna pressed him. That, why don't you go and see the Pandavas in Dvaitavan? Why don't you show them your splendor now that you're the king? So Duryodhana went there, and Yudhisthira was on one side of the lake performing tapasya and doing a sacrifice with Domya and Draupadi. And Duryodhana and all of his queens and everything in full regal, they came to the other side of the lake in Dvaitavan. And the Gandharvas, Chitrasen, they were enjoying there in the lake and told him, go away. And he didn't listen to them. So the Gandharvas captured Duryodhana, captured all the wives, everyone they captured. They were taking them up into the sky. And Yudhisthira sent his brothers, and they saved him. So after the Pandavas saved Duryodhana, he was so humiliated that he decided to give up his life. So in the same way, when this Dhanava reincarnated as Jarasandha, when he was humiliated by Krishna, because Krishna tied him up with Varuna's ropes, and then just to humiliate him further, he took ordinary ropes and tied him up, and then he let him go. He said, okay, you can go now. So he was so humiliated that he decided he would just go and meditate. In other words, give up fighting. But then, as he was going away from the battlefield, he was encouraged by his royal friends that, no, you have to keep fighting. This is just some past karma. These people are so inferior to you, you shouldn't have even bothered fighting with them, but you have to keep on fighting. Next time you'll be victorious. So 17 times, each time he collected 23 Akshohinis, and each time Krishna killed them all. So Krishna was having a great time fulfilling his purpose for why he came to the planet. And he remembers, he says here, I also assume other bodies to protect religion and end your religions. So he was remembering all the times that he had previously come. So now that he had left his Braja pastimes and he was engaged in his purpose of coming here, now when Nanda Maharaj heard this, and he heard that the chariots had come down from Vaikuntha with all the planets and the 2 drivers, Nanda Maharaj, because he could never accept Krishna to be the Supreme Lord, again, he said, yes, Narayan is protecting my son again. I must continue my worship of the Supreme Lord. So he understood that Narayan had sent all of these things just to help innocent Krishna and Balaram in this great fight. He could not understand at any time that Krishna was the Supreme Lord who was arranging all of this. So this is the beauty of Yogamaya. When the Brijbasis also, when they heard that this was going on, even the gopis who were suffering so much in separation, they gave up that pain, and instead they were crying incessantly, worrying about what was going to happen to Krishna and Balaram during this fight. They were more concerned about Krishna's dilemma than their own dilemma of separation. So the devotees, they see these pastimes in different perspectives. Jarasandha saw Krishna as the most worthless, useless, and he spoke so boldly before the battle. And Krishna, he warned him. He said that, a hero doesn't speak. They don't waste their breath. They don't waste their energy on words. They fight. So I can tell from your boastful speaking that you're on the verge of death. So Krishna was able to shut him up. Now, even then, Jarasandha, he would not even consider fighting with Krishna. He thought that he was better off fighting with Balaram. So it's described that later we'll read about the big war, Banasura, when Krishna came and Lord Shiva fought on the side of Banasura because Banasura was a great devotee of his. So Shiva and Krishna were fighting. And Shiva, he was showing off his powers. He had his Shiva Jwara. And Krishna, he elicited his Narayana Jwara. So Shiva Jwara was a heat weapon, and the Narayana Jwara was a cold weapon. And we know during this cold season, for example, Prabhupada, he would also explain that heat we can tolerate. There are different ways to alleviate the heat, but cold is intolerable. So when Jarasandha decided not to fight with Krishna, and instead he was going to fight with Balaram, it's described that he left the Narayana Jwara and went to the Shiva Jwara. Either way, he was going to be killed or defeated. So these different battles, not everyone is interested. Like, for instance, the Sahajiyas here in Vrindavan. They don't even like to read Bhagavad Gita. That this Bhagavad Gita has nothing to do with the Braj Leela. But the devotees of the Lord, the pure devotees of the Lord, they relish anything that Krishna does because they love Krishna. They're not interested in only one type of rasa. They're interested in hearing all of Krishna's relationships with all of his devotees. And therefore, Sukadeva Goswami, though he was always absorbed in remembering the pastimes of the Supreme Lord in Vrindavan, he related all of these pastimes to Parikshit Maharaj, because Parikshit Maharaj, he was the descendant of these very people. He was a godly person, and his son would carry on, and all of being a Kshatriya, all of these battles, it was very much in his favor to hear about them. And therefore we get to hear about them as well. And not only we, Nanda Maharaj and all the Brijvasis, they with great attention, they were listening to everything that Krishna was doing, even while he was away from Vrindavan. And this was keeping them alive, just to hear these pastimes. Although it was so painful for them to hear how Krishna was suffering from the attacks of kings, and even it was painful to hear that he had married 16,108 wives, still they wanted to hear anything that had to do with Krishna. And we as devotees, we should also relish every day these pastimes, no matter where Krishna is. Some scholars, they say, no, actually there were 3 different Krishnas. There was a Krishna in Vrindavan, a Krishna in Mathura, a Krishna in Dwarka. No, Krishna, he's not limited. It's not that he can only be in one place at one time. Krishna can be everywhere. He can be performing all of these pastimes according to the moods of his devotees. So we have to expand our consciousness. We have to understand that all of these pastimes are relishable. Even hearing about the bloody rivers of the dead bodies and how Krishna killed all of them. Great detail we'll read in the coming slokas. His arrows created actually a whole wall of fire, and trillions of arrows were being shot in all directions by him because he had millions of soldiers and horses and elephants to kill, and he did it all by himself. And the armor, the few companions that came out of the fort with Krishna and Balaram, Not one of them got a single scratch on their body because Krishna was protecting them so well. But the other side, as soon as they saw Krishna, they became so fearful that they lost all of their power. And Krishna was able to defeat all of them and penetrate their armor with his arrows. Just like today, we have mist. So it's poetically described that when Krishna arrived on the battlefield, just like when the sun comes up, all of the mist dissipates. So when Krishna appeared on the battlefield, all of these warriors and the cavalry, the horses, the elephants, they all dissipated and went to their death, just as the fog will disappear when the sun eventually comes up. It's also compared poetically that Krishna's body is like a rain cloud, a dark rain cloud, and his bow is just like a rainbow, and all of his arrows that he was shooting by the millions and millions, they were like lightning bolts that were killing all of the soldiers and the animals. So all of these beautiful descriptions of Krishna, a devotee will appreciate all of the pastimes and look forward to anything, because when you love a person, you love everything that they're doing. You don't discriminate that, no, I only like this part of you and not that part of you. No, devotees love to hear about Krishna, whatever he's doing. And therefore, we listen attentively every day. What is Krishna thinking? Krishna's thinking, he remembers, yes, now is the time. Now I can perform the real purpose for why I've appeared. And he takes pleasure in it. He takes pleasure in killing all these demoniac kings because it will then protect his devotees. And then the devotees will be able to go forward and perform their devotional service nicely. So we also, as the audience, just as Nanda Maharaj and all the Brijbasis, we're sitting here in Vrindavan, we're hearing all of these pastimes, and this should bring great delight to our heart, that Krishna is enjoying all this fighting. He wants to kill all of these demoniac people, and it's not the first time. Now, because of the influence, bhakti has increased. We all know that. For instance, in Ayodhya now, the Ram temple's coming up. Here in Vrindavan, so much development has been coming up. Many, many years ago, like 40, 50 years ago, we visited, now it's a beautiful place, the place called Terkadam. We've all been there. Now it's been so beautifully decorated and reconstructed, much more beautifully than we can even imagine when the 6 Goswamis were there. But in the early days, when we first came here, it was just one broken little koti, a little shack. And they couldn't lock the door even. So we would go there, and I asked the pujari one time, I said, why don't you at least lock the door at night when you go away? Or do you stay here? He said, no, I can't stay here. I have to go away at night because people come at night, and whatever I have here, they steal. They've even stolen the hinges of the doors. That's why I can't keep a lock, because they break the lock and they take the lock away. So the condition was so bad at that time, I thought, oh, this is terrible. There's so many bad people in Vrindavan, I'm surprised. And he said, no, this has been going on since the beginning of creation. There's always demons and there are always devotees. And then he said that in Vrindavan, you have the greatest devotees and you also have the greatest demons. Because who came here to try to kill Krishna? The best of the demons, they all came here. So now, by our chanting of Hare Krishna, by our bhakti, by the spreading, by Prabhupada's mercy, by Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda's mercy, bhakti is now overflowing. And even here in Braj, even in our own temple, so much development is going on. And this is because we're hearing regularly. We're hearing about how Krishna, he wants to defeat the demoniac spirit. Now, Prabhupada explains in the purports to the 16th chapter, he brings this up to date, that not only demons, you can recognize demons because they have horns and they have sharp teeth. He says nowadays the demons are the material scientists. He said they are the ones who are causing all of the destruction of the world. Under the guise of making development, and he gives the example of nuclear weapons. What does a nuclear weapon do? Of what value is it to the world? All it can do is destroy all of civilization. But this is their great achievement, that they have so many nuclear weapons now. So present-day demons also exist. And in Satya Yuga, the demons were on different planets. In Treta Yuga, they were on different continents. In Dwapara Yuga, they were in different countries. And in Kali Yuga, we have the demon and the devotee in the same body. That means each one of us, we have both the divine qualities and we have the demoniac qualities. And we have to pray to Krishna that, Krishna, this is what you've come for. Please, you kill, you rout out with all your weapons. Get rid of these demoniac qualities in my heart. And this is why we study all of these killings of the demons. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he's given such a beautiful analysis of the demons that Krishna killed, the demons Krishna killed, the demons Balaram killed, and how we have to pray to Krishna and Balaram because we have all these demons right in our own heart. Therefore, we worship Krishna and Balaram. We pray to them, please kill these demons in my heart, just as you can easily kill 23 Akshohinis in one day. I have some demoniac qualities. You please kill these demoniac qualities so that I can go on and worship you nicely. All right, so if there are any questions, Hare Krishna.
You just mentioned about Krishna that there is only one Krishna, not three Krishna. But you just mentioned that there is only one Krishna, there is not three Krishna.
Right.
So, Vrindavan Parityajya Padam Ekam Na Gacchati.
Right.
So, when they are writing like that,
Yes.
so how can you explain it?
Yes, because he remains here in the hearts of the devotees, in the bhava. They keep him here by always remembering him and always chanting his names. Just as we also, when we're chanting the holy name, Krishna is present dancing on our tongue. So the Brijbasis, they keep Krishna and Balaram tightly here by chanting their holy names always. But Krishna is unlimited. He can expand unlimitedly. He's chanting on each one of our tongues. So when he has different activities to perform, he says here, I also assume other bodies to protect religion and end irreligion. So his activities in Mathura were very different from his activities here in Vrindavan. He was still killing the demons and protecting the devotees, but in a different form, because there he was Mathuradish. There he had forearm form. If you go to the Dwarkadish temple in Mathura, he's forearm form. So therefore he assumes these different forms. He doesn't have a peacock feather, he doesn't have his flute. They're not happy to see Krishna like that because they're afraid he's going to go back to Vrindavan. They want to keep him as Dwarkadish there when he goes on to Dwarka. So it's the same Krishna, but he has a different form because he has different activities there. But the Brijbasis, they keep Krishna in his bhava form here, in their hearts.
So Brajavasis, if they travel out of Vrindavan, they can carry him?
Yes, Prabhupada carried Krishna all over the world, and he made him manifest by his love.
Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Mother, then we see the gopis and Yashoda and Nand Maharaj, they are lamenting in separation of Krishna. So how do we see that?
Yes, Lord Chaitanya recommends that lamenting in separation. And he showed us how to do that. When he was in his last pastimes, his Antya Lila, he glorified that lamentation, that Vipralamba Bhav, that this is actually higher than Sambhoga Bhav. Because in Sambhoga, yes, we become complacent. But in Vipralamba Bhav, we're always feeling separation, and that separation keeps Krishna with us at all times. When you're with someone, you're looking at other things. The person might be right next to you, but when that person who you love is away from you, you're always thinking of that person. When will he come back? When will he come back? You're remembering all the times you had with him. So therefore, the separation, and this is in all sampradayas, it's in our sampradaya, the Gaudiya Vaishnava sampradaya, that vipralamba is higher than sambhog. In some different sampradayas, they say, no, they're never separated, and they don't worship Krishna in separation. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he taught us to worship in separation.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, wonderful class. One small comment, as you mentioned that in the Kali Yuga, the demons mentality, demoniac mentality and the devotee mentality is within our body.
Yes.
And therefore I feel that Shri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu incarnated not to kill us but to kill our demoniac mentality.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's right.
So,
That's what Nityananda Prabhu, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he called his Sudarshan Chakra to kill Jaghai and Madhai. And Nityananda Prabhu was begging him, no, you didn't, not in this incarnation. You're going to just kill the demoniac qualities, not the demons. So that's because in Kali Yuga, everyone has those demoniac qualities, including us.
yeah. Okay. Hare Krishna.
All right, thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Jai.